Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. I am just overjoyed with the level of engagement that has been realized over the past maybe just less than 2 weeks when we initially started to market for the Boundless Masterclass. And I am just grateful to each of you that you have decided to spend this time with me this evening. And my promise to you is that I guarantee that you will not leave here this evening the same way. You're going to leave this evening better off. And I am just incredibly grateful for your time. Our numbers are rising. We have people still in the waiting room. And so my team is working expeditiously to get those individuals in. And so while we wait for just a moment to get settled into this virtual learning space, I would love to invite you to go to the chat. Let us know how you're showing up to this masterclass this evening. Greet your sisters. Let us know how you're feeling. Let us know what's on your mind. This is a way for us to center ourselves in this learning community as we learn with and from each other. And it gives us just a moment of time to allow other sisters to get settled into this virtual learning space. For those who may not have had a chance to interact with me, I am Dr. Nika White. I'm the founder and lead principal consultant for NWC. And I want to just shout out the NWC team because when I tell you that we have worked tirelessly over the past just couple weeks to be able to pull this off, literally that is no exaggeration. And I do not take it lightly when people show up for me. I think that is incredibly important to show that level of recognition and appreciation. So I'm so grateful. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I want to take just a moment to kind of frame what I have in store for you this evening. And then we're going to jump right in because I have a lot that I want to share. I want you to know that if you would like to have your cameras on, we certainly welcome smiling faces. We love to be able to see all of those who are a part of this community, but we also know that many of you are here in a capacity of maybe multitasking. Maybe you're already settled in for the night and you do not want your camera on. Totally honor and respect all of that. We're just grateful for whatever capacity in which you're going to be able to engage with us this evening. But if you want those cameras on, I do want you to know that they are welcomed. I also want you to know that right now we're at 152 and the numbers are continuing to rise. We had almost 500 people to register, so many are just going to be receiving the replay. But for those of you who are here, we want to make sure that we are co-creating this space together just to ensure that we have an enhanced experience. So with that in mind, I want you all to just make sure you are maintaining the mute button. And when we have opportunities to share, which we will, lots of them, we will make sure that we will invite you to unmute yourself so that we can minimize any background noise disruption, but certainly be in community with each other throughout the evening. Okay, so frame today. You heard the song that was playing before, and that song has been ruminating in my head and my spirit for the past couple weeks. And as I begin to draw closer to the masterclass this evening, it became very apparent to me that this vision, that this purpose is ordainedly orchestrated. I say that because I had a completely different approach that I wanted to go in for tonight. And it was impressed upon me to stay true to my own experiences and to really center all of the experiences that I have been privy and privileged to hold space for that women have been sharing with me as I've been on this journey of just allowing people to feel safety and sharing what they're going through, what they're navigating. Things are hard right now. And I want to make sure that all the women that are connected to me, that are looking for a safe place to land and to experience ease, to experience joy while they're navigating also the trauma, to know that there is a place for them, to know that they're not alone, and to know that we have a pathway to get to victory, right? And so tonight is very much about sisterhood. It is about unity. It is about leaning into our vulnerabilities and just really showing forth the many ways that we have been able to be resilient, but also not just allowing ourselves to have to show up strong for the sake of showing up strong, but more importantly, to be able to also know that we deserve to be supported, seen and valued and heard, and that we matter deeply. And so tonight is very personal for me. I take all of this incredibly personal, particularly as a Black woman who's navigating probably many of the things that you all are navigating as well. So I needed this. Tonight is not just to be able to share knowledge and to pour into each of you what I have learned. That's certainly part of my purpose, but equally important, I am gaining so much strength by being in community with each of you. I am gaining so much strength by just knowing and understanding that so many of you answered the call and you said yes to tonight as an opportunity to connect. And I don't take that lightly at all. So as we begin, I invite you to take a breath and remember that whatever you've walked through, whatever it is, right? Whatever it is, you did not walk alone. I personally am a woman of faith. I believe deeply in God who sees us, who loves us, and who strengthens us. And I dare not show up tonight trying to provide hope and joy and a pathway of resilience, but also ease, and to not bring my source of power into this conversation. I am here today with a story to tell because God has graced me with the ability to be here today and to navigate some of those complexities, knowing that He has walked with me. And so I do not want that to be lost on us. So I honor the divine presence that's here with us right now. And I know He's going to remain with us throughout this evening. I have prayed for this moment. I want you all to know that. The song that you just heard, once again, it is my battle cry. And I have had it on repeat for quite some time. So I want you to just think about some of the words of that song. You know, the enemy may take some things, but he can't take my worship. He can't take my worship. This is my way to victory. I'm making it personal. This is my way to victory. And I want you to make it personal as well. So here's what I want you to do to get us started. I want you just to go to the chat and I want you to start thinking and just putting into the chat all of the things that the enemy has taken from you, right? And I'm sure we could spend a long time coming up with this list because we have been victimized, we have been violated, and we still continue to walk a path where every single day we are challenged. And so I want you to place into the chat all of those things that the enemy has taken from you, right? And then we're going to shift this. I want to go ahead and put them out into the atmosphere because they're present, they're there. It's what's causing us worry. It's what's causing us to be fearful. It's what's causing us to not have our full mental strength. And so I want to go ahead and name it so that we can put it into the atmosphere and then allow ourselves to be able to put it behind us as we move forward. So let's share those things into the chat. And I can name some of them for myself. It's probably already in the chat that perhaps you all are sharing as well. The fear, the anxiety, the need to people please all the time, the need to deny myself of wellness, right? The need to check and recheck because I am interested in people seeing me in a certain light without leaning into my own confidence in myself according to how God defines me, the identity that He has given me as His daughter, right? All of those things. Let's see what you're sharing into the chat. And y'all, we're still admitting people. This is awesome. Yes, welcome, sisters. Continue to come in. Okay, I see you. I see you. I see what you're sharing into the chat. Yes, 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 yes. Voice, confidence. This is great. My job, my sanity, my income. Yes, my health, my peace. I love all of this. Rest, clarity, job, all the things. Yes. So many synergies that are finding its way into the chat. See, sisters, this is one thing that I wanted to start with. You are not alone. We are not alone. Our joy. Yes, yes. Keep them coming, sis. Keep them coming. Okay, this is such confirmation because there's so much overlap into the chat. So much overlap. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I told you that I know where my power source is, and I'm going to take a moment before we move any further. And I'm going to pray. I'm going to pray over our time. I'm going to pray over every single woman that's here. I'm going to pray over all of the things that are showing up into the chat that has caused us to not be at our highest selves, the women that we have been called to be. And so I hope that you will take a moment to just pray with me as I cover our time and our space this evening. Dear most precious Heavenly Father, first and foremost, I thank you. I thank you as your daughter. I thank you as someone who takes it incredibly as a high responsibility to be your vessel this evening as I speak into women who are healing, women who are in need of support, women who may feel lonely and isolated, women who are dealing with having their mental strength to be compromised, women who are challenged by what's happening maybe in the workplace that they are a part of, feeling unseen, undervalued, unheard, unworthy. I call all of those things, God, right now at your feet, God, because I know that you are a God of prosperity. You are a God that is the highest power, and you are our Father, and you care about us. And I thank you, God, that you're giving us such an opportunity this evening just to be in community. I pray, God, for unity. I pray for cohesion, God. I pray for clarity. I pray for a strong sisterhood, God. I pray for healing. I pray for every single woman that will show up to this evening's class, God, and even those who registered but are not here right now in the moment. I pray that you will cover them, cover their minds, their hearts, God, cover their talents, their skills, cover everything that you have imparted into them, that you've gifted them with to be able to operate in the earth, God. Give us all a strong spirit of conviction, of values that, God, we know are your ways. Make us, God, even more into your image, God. And as we spend this time this evening, allow it, God, to be nourishing to our bodies, allow it to be uplifting to your kingdom, allow it, God, to just incite within us this deeper ability to want to seek you in all that we do. We pray for prosperity, God. We pray for good health, God. We pray for a voice of authority, God, where we may be challenged by our voices not being heard, God. We pray that you will continue to regulate our minds, God, that you will be the lifter of our heads, God, that you will order our steps, God, that you will protect our families, God, that you will just pour into us everything that we need, God, even those things that we don't even know to ask for. And we thank you for a time such as this. We thank you that you're not going to allow us to leave this time this evening not feeling supported, not feeling lonely, but feeling, God, that we are powerful because of the power that's in you and because of the power that you bestow to us, God. And we know that victory is around the corner. And we just thank you, God. We thank you that the enemy can take a lot of things, can attempt to take a lot of things, but God, the enemy is not moving without your say so. So even the trials, God, that you have allowed us to encounter, we thank you for those, God, because it is growing us, it is teaching us. And we just ask that you will just continue, God, to show your grace and your mercy as we navigate the complexity of all that we have before us, God. Nothing is too hard for you. Your word says that in our weakness, your strength is made perfect. And God, we are showing up this evening with expectations for you to be in the midst, dwell within us, God. Continually allow us to feel your presence, God, every second and moment of our time together, God. And we thank you and we glorify you and we bless your name. Amen. 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 And the people say amen. Thank y'all. That felt incredibly important to do. So I appreciate you all giving me a moment to lean in. So let's jump right in. Many of you I know, and many of you I may not know quite as well. So I want to just take a moment to give you a little bit of insight about me that's going to help you to understand how I like to show up to these conversations. And so, as I mentioned before, this is very personal for me. So I'm not going to give you my credentials and my accolades. You can read all that on your own. What I want to tell you are some things about me that is going to hopefully allow you to understand my heart, understand why I felt that this time was so critically important. So here's the thing. Boundless means a lot to me. But I'm going to tell you precisely how I'm showing up in this moment as I think about Boundless, because this is not just a program or an initiative. This is incredibly personal. There was a time, even with all of my success that I have had the fortunate and God's grace to be able to realize, all my credentials, all the rooms I've been in that I've had access to, where I still felt that I had to edit myself in order to be accepted. I still felt that I had to always constantly scan the room. Who's watching? What are they thinking? What do they know? What do they not know? Right? All the things, right? And, am I being too assertive? Am I too soft? Am I too visible? Am I too invisible? Right? All the things. I would question it. So if I'm sharing with you and this is resonating, I want you to give me some reactions or some thoughts in the chat just to let me know that I'm not alone. And so I could feel in those situations my nervous system in overdrive. It was very active, right? And whenever my nervous system would get activated, I knew that I needed to pause in those moments. I needed to take stock of what's happening right now in my body. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I experiencing this, right? And I'd smile on the outside, but while on the inside, I was exhausted. I was exhausted all the time from code switching, from feeling like I was over functioning, from having to try to prove something to people who, didn't even have a right to judge me, all the things. And I even had to try to fight to ensure that those who I felt their thoughts were so critically important that they also knew that I belonged in that room and that I was qualified to lead. This is resonating with someone, I want you to share something into the chat with me. I want to make sure that you're tracking with me. But here's what changed everything for me. Everything for me. I stopped trying to regulate for the world around me. And I started regulating with my main source, God. And I also realized that my power wasn't self made. It was not self made at all. It was God sourced. And that regulation wasn't weakness, it was a strategy. I didn't even know what emotional regulation was at this time. I just knew that I needed a shift, I needed a change, I need to pivot. And what I realized is that that embodiment wasn't just for wellness spaces, it was also the key to freedom while I was really trying to release my mind of being so concerned about what everyone else was thinking, what they were believing, the stories that they were telling about me. So the story that I knew was about me. And that's very much how Boundless was formed. It was a revelation for me. It was from my own healing, my own faith, from my refusal to watch other women of color silently drown in systems that were never designed for us to thrive in. And it was painful and hurtful to experience that, and then to see other women experiencing the same thing. And so while I would show up to these corporate spaces and I would coach women and I would talk them up and I would mentor them and I would tell the leaders in the organizations all that they needed to do to fix all that was wrong, I was showing up, but I was numb. I was numb in many ways because I didn't allow myself to also go through the process of healing and recognizing that I too was very much a part of some of those scenarios. So when I say that Boundless is sacred, I mean it. Boundless is what I consider to be a space where you don't have to shrink, a space where your voice and your boundaries and your body and your worship, all of that is welcomed and encouraged. All of you is welcome and encouraged. So I don't want you to see this as a leadership development. I want you to see it as liberation work, right? And I created it because I needed it too. I needed it too. And so I share that with you because I am looking to gain just as much probably from every single one of you who have connected to this effort and this vision this evening. And that's what I want you to know as we drive forward ahead. So you belong here. It's important for you to know that this is a time of welcome. This is an opportunity for us to ground this space, this virtual space that we are in. And I want to anchor today's masterclass in the truth that, as I said before, our power is not self-made, it is God sourced. So I will center faith as a sustaining force that's going to allow us as women of color to rise in systems that can dim our light, right? To reclaim our energy from burnouts and injustices that we experience day in and day out, and to also embody leadership and all of the values and attributes that we think are critically important to help us show up authentically without sacrificing our souls. We will not let our souls be broken, right? And so this is an opportunity for us to collectively breathe together and let that energy and the positivity of that breath that's going forward to fuel us to be able to take the next step of whatever journey is ahead of us. Now, we're not a monolith. And so I can't proclaim to know every single situation and thing that every single woman is going through that's gathered here today. But I guarantee you that we're going to touch on, I'm sure, probably one or two things that every single one in this room is going to be able to identify themselves in. And I want you to know that I see you. I see you. You are valued. You are very much safe in this space. And in fact, we're going to co-create this space together because I believe that each of us has something to learn from each other. We're going to be learning with and from each other today. So what I want you to do is we ground ourselves in this space. I want you to place your feet on the floor. I know some of you could be driving, so do this only if you can and if it's safe. But I want to give us just an exercise to center us into this space. We've probably had long days. We probably have, maybe some other distractions going on in our homes this evening. Maybe a family member, a partner is asking where's dinner. Maybe a child is asking, for help with something. I don't know. But I want you to do your best to try to let this be your time. Invest in yourself for this window of time. And so place your feet on the floor if you can. Maybe if you're sitting at a computer, but just place your feet on the floor. And I want you to lengthen your spine. Lengthen your spine. I want you to literally feel yourself kind of straightening out your back, right? And if you can and you're able and you're comfortable and you're not driving, I want you to close your eyes, right? Close your eyes. And I want you just to take a deep breath in. Deep breath in. And as you take that breath in, I want you to begin to notice any sensations in your body. Are you nervous? Are you tense? Are you anxious? Are you angry? Are you hungry? Right? Are you feeling pleasant and joy? Is there pain in your body? Are you anticipating something right now? Just notice all these sensations. We want to just invite all the sensations in, but notice how you're feeling in this moment. And as you are noticing how you're feeling, I want you to set an intention. Set the intention for who will I choose to show up as during this time? Who will I choose to show up as during this time? And then I want you to take another deep breath in. And as you're breathing in, I literally want you to breathe in all that you feel that you need to show up at your best at this time. Right? Take that deep breath in, all that you need to show up at your best at this time. I want you to breathe in safety, breathe in power, breathe in prosperity, breathe in clarity and creativity, breathe in provision, breathe in joy and peace, breathe in victory, breathe in a firm decision that you know you have this, right? Breathe whatever it is in that you need. And allow your body to really be able to feel the sensation of that breath. And then as you exhale, slowly letting that breath out, I want you to breathe out and exhale everything that you wish and that you identify that you need to rid yourself of that is not going to serve you well this evening during this time. Exhale all of that anxiety. Exhale the fear, the worry, the trauma, the pain, the emotional stress, the uncertainty, the bad news that you're waiting on, thinking it's going to happen, all the things, right? Just exhale it out all together. And then one last deep breath in. I told you I need this too, so I'm doing it with you. And then deep breath out. Deep breath in. Okay. Deep breath out. Does that feel good? If that felt good, give me some emojis or reactions. Let me know if that feels good. Sometimes we're not really one with our breathing. And we don't realize how that could really be hindering us. And so being one with our breathing is critically important. Okay, so welcome again. Let's move ahead.
You've been holding so much for so long. Everyone's everything, showing up strong, performing calm, but inside, you're tired, you're disconnected, exhausted from carrying what was never yours to begin with. And yet, you keep going. But what if I told you you don't have to power through anymore? You were never meant to do this alone. Welcome to Boundless, a sacred space for professional women of color to finally breathe, to be, and to reclaim your power from burnout, from overfunctioning, from systems designed to keep you small. In this space, we don't just talk about healing, we embody it. Here, emotional regulation isn't optional, it's essential. Embodied leadership isn't soft, it's sovereign. And your peace? Sis, it's not luxury, it's your inheritance. Boundless is where your nervous system gets a seat at the table, where your body becomes your compass, and your faith fuels every step. The enemy may take some things, but he can't take our worship. That's more than a lyric. It's a battle cry, a declaration that your joy, your praise, your power can't be stolen, because your source, it's divine. This masterclass is your entry point, your yes to a new way of leading and living. You'll walk away with tools, truth, and a path forward. And if you feel the call, Boundless will be waiting to walk with you. Every embodied, grace-filled, powerful step of the way. Because you were never too much. You were just misunderstood by systems not built for your brilliance. So come home to your body, to your breath, to your God-given brilliance. And remember, this is your way to victory.
You believe that? I want you to give me some reactions into the chat, share some emojis, share some reactions, some affirmations. I need to know that you're with me, that you believe this deeply the way that I do. Okay. So why are we here? Why are we here? We're here because we realize that we need each other. We are not wired to be in isolation. We are not wired to not have that level of connectedness. And I want us to really lean into that this evening. So this session is for all of those women who have been everything to everyone, and maybe we lost sight of our full selves. And we want to find her again, right? We want to be fully one with who she is at her highest. And our goals today would be to offer some tools, some strategies for reclaiming that energy and that power, and to explore what does it mean exactly to lead from the body and not just the brain. We're going to talk about that. And then present a proven path forward through this boundless opportunity. That's what I want you to walk away with. So why is this so important right now? I want to kind of level set this for us so we have a backdrop and contextual knowledge as to why this is such an incredible time where it's necessary for us to move with urgency around this. In April of 2025, Black women experienced the highest job losses, highlighting their vulnerability to economic downturns and the erosion of DEI initiatives. Right? That was approximately 106,000 job losses that took place among Black women specifically. Now, if we fast forward and we look at the totality of Q1 of 2025, that number rose to 306,000. And probably if we were to take the stats today, it's even higher. So Black women's unemployment rate, it surged significantly, even as the national rate remained relatively stable. That's an important point to amplify. And all of this is not just information that I heard in the LinkedIn or Instagram streets. You can look it up yourself. There's so many credible sources out there, Bloomberg and the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. Problem is that we cannot just sit back and allow those numbers to continue to climb. We're going to have to now start thinking about where do we have control over our circumstances and really fully lean into that. Now, I say this because I know for those of us who are part of the 92%, I'm just going to sit back and let the world blow up. I get it. I was there too. But one of the things that I realize is that if I continue to do that, then I am not serving myself best. And I do not want for the things that I have the ability to control to not aid in me being able to keep my mental capacity, keep my sanity, keep my peace, right? To keep my hope. And so I needed to be able to find ways for where I have some level of control and how I go about navigating these systems that were not built for me. And that is why I wanted to share this information with each of you today. Let's talk about some of the ways in which women of color, specifically Black women, face complex challenges, one of which is intersectionality. We are women, we are also women of color, and that makes it even more complex when it comes to navigating systems that were not designed for us. We know that. Intersectionality is really critical. It compounds all of the barriers that we are already having to navigate. And then let's think about what's happening within the workplace and the occupational issues and segregation. They are often concentrated in lower paying industries or roles, making women of color, Black women, more susceptible to economic fluctuations and layoffs. And that is proof of the stat that I just shared with you a moment ago. There are lots of companies that are rolling back DEIs, but don't let the media allow us to believe that that is the end story, the be all end all. Yes, there are some companies who are challenging the vitality of DEI right now, but I also want you to know that there are many companies that are standing 10 toes down, going in deeper. They're doubling down. They're also finding ways where they can do the work in smarter ways, maybe reimagine, but continue to do the work. And we have to make sure that we're naming that as well. So the rollbacks may feel like they're a huge threat, but again, I think that what we need to realize is that crucial support of systems and protections is where we need to be leaning into finding ways to create those opportunities, which again is what Boundless is about. And then let's not forget just the historical inequities that have just been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years, the wealth gap, the pay disparities, limited access to opportunities. All of those things create a cycle of disadvantage. And then lastly, the only lonelies. You're only lonely, just put your hand up, raise your hand, let us know that you're the only lonelies. And we know what those are. I've had so many women that signed up for today that said, oh my goodness, I'm so glad you're doing this because I am the only one that look like me that's in the C-suite, right? All of us have those challenges either that we have witnessed or experienced, and they are real. So I want to get your engagement here. I am going to ask that we take a poll right now, and I am being supported today by my colleagues at NWC. And here's the poll question. We're going to get it up on the screen in just a second. But the question is simply, in your own experience, which aspect of well-being or community support do you find most crucial for your personal and professional growth? And there are 4 responses there. Just pick the one that most identifies with you, most resonates. And those responses are rolling in. And as you're doing that, I just want to acknowledge, I want to do a couple of shout outs because I have some really great supporters on this call. I have women who are my Bow sisters from the Bow Collective. Thank you for being here, Bows. I have women that are part of my sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha, AKA. Also, we have other members of Divine Nine sororities. So thank you for being here. I have clients that are here, client contacts. And so I appreciate the support. people from my church, New Life. So I'm shouting you all out. Thank you. I don't take it lightly that you're here. Okay, so it looks like we have 67% that have put their response in, and it's still growing a little bit more. But right now, we are, oh gosh, we're all over the map. And so, fostering resilience and self care. Yes, I do a whole session and workshop that's on prioritizing radical self care. And that word radical is very intentionally placed throughout that particular content. Connecting with supportive network and peers. Yes, again, we are not wired to be isolated. Balancing career growth with self care. Yeah. How many of us have felt on certain days something has to give, right? I was talking to my daughter earlier today, and I was thinking about all that I had to get accomplished before, a trip that we're taking. And I said to her, "This is the moment that I need to lean into what I learned when I was part of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, where they tell us that as founders, as leaders, and probably many of you can identify with this as well. We are carrying a lot of different things, where we're juggling a lot of balls. And so what this particular instructor said to us was, as you're thinking about those balls and you're handling them, is the ball a plastic ball or is it a glass ball, right? And if it's a plastic ball, then you probably can realize that maybe this one can be dropped while I'm in the midst of trying to navigate, but this glass ball, I need to keep it in the air, right? Okay, so we are all over the board. Having a shared sense of belonging and solidarity. One of the things that I have shared with so many audiences is that when we think about belonging, that sense of validation and acceptance, it is hard for any person, regardless of their background, their demographics, but for any person to show up at their best if they are always questioning whether or not they belong. Think about that for a second. Do I belong here? Am I seen? Am I valued? Am I heard? Am I safe? Do I have full opportunity for success? When we are questioning those things day in and day out, of course we are exhausted. Of course, we question whether or not we belong in certain places. Of course, our mental strength may be compromised, right? Of course, the anxiety and the stress levels can rise. I see you, sisters. I know this because I experience it as well. Okay, thank you for all of those who participated in that poll. Okay, so let's talk about the cost of dysregulation. And before I actually go there, I see that Takia, thanks for being here. Hope you're doing well, that your hand is raised. Now, your hand could be raised maybe because you were participating earlier when I shared. Let me know if this is resonating with you. So I want to give you a second. Was your hands up from that?
Sorry, yes, it was raised from earlier. I never put it back down, but it's all resonating, every piece of it.
Thank you, Takia. So glad you're here. No worries at all. So let's talk about the cost of dysregulation. Because I said to you that when I started really studying emotional regulation, I mean, I went all in on it, y'all. I had a coach that I started really gaining a lot of value from, the tools, the exercises, the coaching. So then I started researching on my own. I started following different people that are experienced in the space, started reading different articles, subscribing to different podcasts. I mean, I went all the way in. And it was because I realized that it was making such a significant difference in my life that I thought, if I can get this to a place where I can master it and continue to grow in it, that maybe I can share it with others. And it even got me to a point to where I decided I wanted to thread it through all aspects of my work. Because let's face it, when we think about being emotionally regulated, then in the times of uncertainty and ambiguity, right, that we are navigating right now, that is going to serve us best because we are having a hard time just being able to show up and try to function, right? Productivity right now, I'm hearing it from all my clients, it is not at its high, it is challenged. But if we can learn how to navigate the complexity of that, it really can help serve us. And so let's think about some of these things that you see on the screen in front of you. This is all about the cost of dysregulation. And what I'm trying to do is paint a story for why it's so important for us to be engaged in trying to find strategies to emotionally regulate. So many of us are operating in a survival type of situation, right? And what I want you to know is that we need to be able to learn how to have strategies and tools to move us from survival to shift to sovereignty, right? We deserve to have a life that is not always traumatizing every step of the way. We're exhausted. right? Not just tired, but we're exhausted, we're burnt out, we're second guessing, we're over giving, we're always feeling like we have to be on, always feeling like we have to be strong, and still we continue to show up. But the question then becomes, well, who's showing up for you? Who's showing up for us? And so I go back to the 92% that I referenced earlier. Today's conversation is about the 92%. I want to speak to that group a little bit today. And who said after the election results that I'm exhausted, worry about yourself, America. How many of us were in that 92% camp? Some of you are still there, which is totally fine. There is no judgment whatsoever. I totally get it, sis, right? But as part of being in that 92%, we still need community, right? We still need community. We still need to be with others. And so let's think about some of the consequences if we do not regulate ourselves. Burnout, overfunctioning, that disconnection, fatigue, the people pleasing, the numbness, the isolation, all the things that we've been talking about so far, right? I want to see what's resonating with you. So let's go to poll question number 2. Which of those challenges do you feel most impacts your ability to thrive and reach your full potential? And we're going to put this poll up on the screen. There it is. I want you to think about this question. As you think about dysregulation and all the consequences of dysregulation, what are the challenges that you feel most impacts your ability to show up as your highest self, the person that you were created and designed to be? Without bounds, without limits. Let's think about that for a second. One of the things that I recall from a recent conversation, I am a storytelling facilitator, by the way, but one of the things I recall from a recent coaching conversation with a woman of color is that, we were talking about how she could navigate a pathway of getting what she wants in terms of in the workplace, the opportunities, the visibility, the upward mobility, all the things. And then I asked her, well, what do you want? And she couldn't answer that question. And it pained me. It really pained me. And I kept thinking about it. I kept going back over that conversation over and over again. And I realized that the first thing that we need to do when we're trying to navigate spaces that were not designed for us to get what we want is we have to know what we want. And so as I continued to probe with her about what she wants, she said to me after a long pause, I used to know what I want. But I guess I stopped dreaming because I just never thought any of this was possible. So I'm just like surviving now. I'm just going through the motions. She was numb. She was numb. And we have our time and our spaces and our places where we can really sit within all the feelings, because I don't believe in just trying to suppress our emotions. Let's be one with them, because that's the first step of being able to control our emotions without having them control us, is to invite them in and acknowledge them. But she was so numb that she couldn't even recognize what kind of state she was in at that moment. And that pained me. It really did. It was very saddening to me. Okay, so let's see where we are right now. We're at 60%. The numbers are still rising, but let's look to see where we are right now. So 41%, 42 of 104 that participated said that facing barriers in leadership roles, visibility, or advancement is one of the challenges that many of you feel is really impacting your ability to thrive and reach your full potential. Yeah. Yeah. The second behind that was navigating bias and work-life balance and struggles leading to burnout. So let me tell you, I don't believe in work-life balance. I don't. I say this a lot, and sometimes it gets a lot of raised eyebrows, but I believe in work-life blend. I do. I believe that everything worth having will at some point in time imbalance your life. And so for me, and this is just for Nika, what works for me is to find ways to blend all the things that I value. And you have to also find what works for you. Okay, great. But we were all over the board on this one, which is just probably what I expected. Yeah. Fantastic. So those are our results. Okay, well done. Thank you all for participating in that. So now let's move on. Let's talk about the corporate code crisis, right? And I'm going to give you the boundless definition. There's probably other definitions out there of what the corporate code crisis is, but I'm going to give it to you from the perspective of women of color, specifically Black women. So this is how I define the corporate code crisis. It is this internal conflict that we experience as women of color when navigating professional environments that reward assimilation over authenticity, It's also the emotional and the physical and the spiritual toll of constantly decoding, contorting, or concealing parts of ourselves to fit in into corporate rooms and not build with our identity in mind. And we find ourselves doing this without even realizing that we're doing it. Without even realizing that we're doing it. I want to make sure that you get that. And when we become so conditioned to this is just how we show up, it is hard to undo that. It is so hard to undo that. I heard someone say recently that practice makes permanent, right? And think about that for a second. We're so used to practice makes perfect, right? If we continue to put our habits forth and do them over and over again, we're going to get it right. Well, not if you're not right in the beginning. If you're wrong in the beginning, then all you're doing is just making whatever that practice is and those habits, you're just making them permanent. And so I want us to be aware of this corporate code crisis and how it can show forth, especially for women of color, because if we're not even aware that it's happening, then how can we acknowledge even ways to try to fix it? And it's not serving us well. Let me continue. The crisis shows up in these ways: chronic self monitoring to avoid being labeled as too much. Remember, I said that was my story. I talk about that all the time. Am I too aggressive? Am I too soft? Am I too, yeah. Stop questioning it. So what? So what if somebody thinks that you are, right? Who does God say I am? Suppressing emotional expression to appear professional. And yes, I put that in air quotes because what does that even mean? Right? What does that even mean? I am so tired of the colonialized definition of professional. We need to define that for ourselves and take back the narrative and the ownership of that, right? Overfunctioning to prove worth in the face of bias. So I'll just work a little bit harder. I'll just put my head down, keep doing the work. Someone's going to notice at some point in time. Hello, somebody. Hello. I just want to make sure I'm not talking to myself tonight. I can't see the chat, but I'm hoping the chat is blowing up because I am helping you to realize that these are things that we encounter and do every single day. Code switching until we are disconnected from our voice and our values. Code switching till we are disconnected from our voice and our values. When we lose our voice, when we lose our authenticity, that's when our values become in question, right? Because it's like, well, who are we listening to? Are we listening to the world and what others say and the labels that they place on us? Right? And so it has the ability to, yes, erode our deep connection to our values. That should be concerning if we think about it in that regard. It also looks like fatigue from constantly having to navigate microaggressions and tone policing and erasure, all the things that we know we experience. And I'm not trying to make this a doom and gloom, but I am trying to make sure that I'm painting a picture so that we all know we have arrived at a place that others are showing up to as well who look like us. One of the biggest, I think, issues that we have is trying to deal with these things in isolation because we perceive this is only our story. This is the story of the collective. And I'm not saying that all of our stories are precisely the same, but I guarantee you that there's a lot of undertones to so many things that I've shared today that probably finds its way into every single one of our stories on a daily, weekly basis, right? We teach women to stop negotiating their identity for acceptance. That's what we do in Boundless. Stop negotiating their identity for acceptance. And I think it's important. If you're part of the Boundless community, you are going to know the importance of naming the corporate code crisis and disrupting it. That's part of what we're doing. We're not just here for ourselves, we're here to protect the full turf. And that means we have to be willing to recognize it, name it, and protect our sisters as well. And we do that through emotional regulation, embodied leadership, and faith as a power source. Faith as a power source, right? We want to be aligned and liberated and true to who we are. Corporate code crisis. Let's continue on. So let's talk about emotional regulation. I realize that some of you, it resonated because so many of you said, oh, yes, I need that topic. Yes, embodiment, ER, I need all of that, right? Without fully understanding what it is. And I only say that because I really wasn't sure exactly what it was. I just knew that when I started looking into it, reading about it, I was like, that's it. That's it right there. That's it. That's what I need. Sign me up. And I was ready to go and committed. So when we think about the power of emotional regulation, let's first just talk about what it is. I define emotional regulation as simply the skill of being with your emotions while being without being ruled by them. I want to say that again. The skill of being with your emotions without being ruled by them. So anytime that today, since I've been on this journey of emotional regulation and embodiment, anytime that my nervous system is activated, I notice it immediately. Before that, maybe something will happen, maybe something will occur, but I really wasn't really able to connect it to anything in particular because I wasn't paying attention. It wasn't on my radar. I didn't really fully understand about emotional regulation. But when I got into this coaching, into this exercise of being a student of it and really learning about it so that I could apply it to myself and then pour it out into others, I realized that I needed to start paying attention to my nervous system, right? Am I getting tense? Do I have butterflies in my stomach, right? Does my mouth start to water or does it get really dry? I mean, there's so many different kind of, symptoms that your bodies will let you know that something's happening. Am I getting angered in the moment, right? Do I need to drop my shoulders and just kind of roll them back a little bit because now I'm slouching over and trying to shrink back? I mean, there's so many different ways, again, that you can start noticing changes in your body and in your nervous system that allows you to know that something is happening right now and is being activated. And what I want you to know is that those are those emotions trying to come out. They're saying, I'm here and I'm going to come, whether you want me to or not. You probably don't want to feel sad right now. You don't want to feel angry right now. You don't want to feel frustrated and agitated right now. But guess what? I am coming. And so instead of trying to suppress it, instead of trying to not let it really enter into our being, we need to be with our emotions, right? And what that looks like is let's notice our emotions. Let's name them. Literally, sometimes I will sit and I'll put my hand on my belly and why am I feeling anxious right now? I was feeling anxious this evening before coming into this. And I do talks like this all the time. And this is virtual. And I do talks in person all the time with hundreds of people. And I was nervous today. I was nervous today because I felt the great responsibility of the weight of really trying to relay something of value to women of color that I deeply care about, because I want all of us to win. And so we have to be one with our emotions and notice what's coming up for us. And then while we're identifying those emotions, we're not identifying them to be able to claim them as truth. We're identifying them because there are messages that's saying to us, slow down, notice what's happening, and then start to think about why could this be happening? And I will tell y'all that changed the game for me. That changed the game for me because now what happens is that when my nervous system is activated and I be with my emotions, I quickly shift to why am I feeling this way? Is this really truth? Or is this something that I am choosing to believe that's untrue, right? Or am I inputting meaning into actually what's happening and I shouldn't even be concerned with it, right? And also, well, what if that is their perception? So what? That's not who I am just because they say that's who I am. Or that's not my destiny or my story just because they perceive that maybe that was their story. I think it's going to be my story, right? There's so much to think about in that regard. And so, because as women of color, we've had to navigate so many spaces that were not designed for us, we've had to suppress or perform strength in order to survive. And that looks like taking all those emotions and just shoving them down, shoving them down, shoving them down, denying them, right? Trying not to feel. Some of us have become so numb that even when the emotions come up, we don't even know what it is. It's like, what is this? Why am I feeling this way? Where's this coming from? Right? True talk. So we need to normalize the fact that no one taught us this. It's not our fault. We didn't grow up learning about emotional regulation, right? We didn't grow up learning not to suppress our emotions. We grew up because learning how to survive. And that meant doing whatever it takes, right? Doing whatever it takes, but survive, suppress, and survive. So it's not our fault. We have to first and foremost make sure that we're realizing that it's not our fault. What I also want us to think about when we are considering the being one with our emotions and emotional regulation is that we have to make sure that we're starting to tie it to our nervous system. Really, there's a science behind what's happening, and to become a lot more literate on what does that look like, right? And more trauma informed about how this can harm us if we don't start to heal through therapy, through whatever kind of mechanisms that's going to allow us to, again, just kind of go through it, right? We have to first go in before we go out. That's one of the things that my coach taught me. You have to go in to go out. You have to go in to go out. It serves us no good when we just go straight out. Because when we go just straight out, if we are really being connected with those emotions without really checking the emotions and questioning where they're coming from and the why, and deciding to control the emotions, that's when conflict shows up. That's when tension is met with tension. And then, the whole conversation ends, right? No one gets anywhere, right? And so this is why this is so critically important. And what I said in the beginning is that there's so much right now that we can't control. But if I can get this skill set, there is a lot more that I can navigate with a much more controlled and calm, grounded, centered manner. And that's what I want for the rest of us. I've given you the cultural context in terms of why this is critically important for women of color. Now, what I also want you to know is that it is a skill that can be learned. It is a skill that can be learned. If I felt that this was not something that someone else could learn and pick up on and start to incorporate it into their daily lives, I wouldn't be here tonight offering this masterclass. I wouldn't be here. But that is the hope that we have, is that this is a skill that can be learned. It is a tool that really, I believe, too, can change your life the same way that it's changed my life. I was stuck. I truly was stuck. And I am now living a life of claim power, right? It's not to say that I don't have to navigate the complexities of it and that I get it right all the time, but I have tools in my toolbox. And that is something to be said for having tools in your toolbox that you can go to, right? Okay, so that is the power of emotional regulation. So let's go to the second part of this. And this is now embodied leadership. So I want to talk about embodied leadership the same way that we kind of unpacked ER. So when we think about embodied leadership, that is when there's an alignment between the presence, our voice, our values, right? We are in alignment of who we are, how we want to show up. Our voice is clear, right? We can hear our own voice because we haven't suppressed parts of who we are. We are very much in alignment with our values. And we are operating from what I refer to as a head versus body-based leadership. When we are operating from a head versus body-based leadership, that is the difference between just kind of like this theory knowledge, right? We know what we need to do, but we're kind of denying ourselves of being able to be humans, right? And that is so important these days. I don't feel like we're centering enough of our humanity these days. And that's probably why we're in the situation that we're in. But we need both that head smart, that theory, the understanding, as well as to be one with our bodies and understand what our bodies are telling us, right? Because that's really important data as well. And I want you to know that embodiment is a natural birthright. We have been taught that we need to embody different personas that others place on us. And that's when we start to conform to kind of mainstream way of thinking. And I want us to know that being embodied is a natural birthright. And we need to own that. You do not have to abandon your peace to lead powerfully. You do not. You do not have to abandon your peace to lead powerfully. And so I want us to make sure that we're kind of understanding that. We need to lead with our presence, not just with performance. We're not machines. There's a reason that when we talk about human resources, the word human is before resources. We're not just our output. We are humans. Allow ourselves to be with our bodies. Body gives us good and important data. Okay, we're moving here, y'all. So reclaiming your energy. Why is that important? Because there are certain things called energy leaks, and I want to talk about it. I find that we often are made aware, or at least have access to different opportunities and tools to manage our time, right? Time management strategies. We talk about that relatively often. I wish we talked about managing our energy just as often, because I believe that this is also a really critical aspect of how we as women of color are going to be able to serve our best selves, is if we also learn how to manage our energy. Let me talk to you about what energy leaks, the energy leak concept, and what that is. This refers to those subtle but constant nagging ways that we can lose emotional, mental, physical, or spiritual energy. Right? And this is often without realizing it. Again, sometimes things happen. We're just so conditioned to it that we don't even know really what the repercussions are of it. And these leaks can leave us drained, dysregulated. And we talked about all the things that dysregulation can do to our bodies and our mental state, and also disconnected. And not just from people, from our own purpose, our own values, our own power. And without connection to that power source, we are just like wandering nomads. I don't want that for you. I don't want that for me. I don't want that for us collectively. We need each other, right? So, in the context of Boundless, when we think about energy leaks, they're especially important to name and address because they're often tied to, again, systemic issues, racialized stress, overfunctioning, and the pressure to perform under systems. But I will say it again, were not built for us, right? So I want you to go to the chat and I want you to share what are some of the leaking energies, the energy leaks that you may be aware of that are present in your life right now. I want you just to name them. Again, I believe in naming things because if we don't name it, then it's going to be hard for us to be able to try to reel it in and combat it. So let's just put them into the chat. Let's let our sisters know that you're not alone. So I bet you're going to find something in the chat that somebody else has already put in there or that they're going to put in there. Let's see what kind of synergy we have across the energy leaks that's in the chat. I'm going to pop it open too so I can see what's happening there. Oh, y'all are busy in the chat. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yes. Energy leaks. Overextending, people pleasing. Yes, 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 yes. I love this. Come home to your body. Y'all are so awesome. Sometimes I try to leave the chat open for this purpose, but I don't always get to because I try to be very present in the moment. I don't want to get distracted, but I'm loving the engagement that's happening in the chat. Yeah, some of the other energy leaks would be holding unspoken resentment, y'all, ignoring our boundaries. Boundaries for us, not for other people. They're for us, right? Mentally rehearsing microaggressions. Like, did that really happen? Or maybe it didn't really happen. Or maybe I'm just being oversensitive right now. Did he really say that? Oh, no, it's not a big deal. He didn't mean that. He plays like that and jokes like that with everybody. No, no, sis. No, 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 no. Second guessing our voice. Second guessing our voice. And for those of you who are business owners, I mentioned before, shout out to some of my Bo sisters from the Bo Collective. I want to say, just because we're not like in a workplace working for somebody, even when you work for yourself, you still have to rely on others that you are either in partnership with, maybe your clients, your customers, whatever the case may be. So I still navigate this. I can tell you a story right now of a few years ago where I did a deep dive assessment that was both qualitative, quantitative in nature. It was a lot of work for a really large manufacturing company. And when I went to deliver the results and the data, I do what I always do. I go ahead and prepare the leaders, see data as just data, as opportunity to reinforce what you're doing well, and then opportunity to unearth some opportunities to get things right, to improve the healthy culture. And so I always say, don't get bothered by the data. It is data, right? And I remember that the data was not all positive. I mean, they had some good stuff in there, but it was not all positive. And because they could not accept the data of the lived experiences of how people within their organization, particularly people that look like you and I, what their experiences were, they asked me to give them all of the raw data so they can have somebody else check my work. I'm gonna let y'all percolate on that for a second. I'm gonna let y'all percolate on that. And as a researcher, I clearly said, I'm not releasing this data. I own this data. And you need to just accept that the data is the data. And I did not release my data. They were going to have to get a court order to help me to release that data. And I didn't release it. But my point here is that no matter if we are entrepreneurs, founders in organizations, we just because of how we look, we are going to find ourselves navigating these types of situations just because of how we look. And so we need each other. We need each other. I'm loving all these responses into the chat. Yes, I know, Tanya. Wow. Wow is true. Yes. Can totally relate. Happened to me doing research. Yeah. I'm not giving you my data. No, that's my data. Yep. Okay. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for seeing me with my story. I told y'all I'm a storytelling facilitator, right? Okay. So what else do? We overanalyze how we're being perceived. Do they like me? Do they not like me? Did I do well? I mean, yes, that can drive us crazy. We also stay in rooms and roles or relationships misaligned with our spirit. Now, sis, sometimes we know that we don't need to be in that room. We don't need to be at that table. I know we call for giving us a seat at the table all the time, but some tables, we need to be able to tell ourselves we don't need to be at this table. We need to maybe get ourselves healed. We need to maybe learn how that There's not a crab in the bucket type mentality here. We all can be successful if we're going to be at that table, because the whole point is that if one of y'all at that table, I want you to bring one of us up with you. So there's so much to be said about what's the internal dialogue we're having with ourselves to interrogate how we're showing up, our purpose, our values, right? And sometimes there are things that we stay, places that we stay too long that are misaligned with our spirit, and we know it. And so these behaviors, they can seem very innocent on the surface. They can seem minor in isolation, but over time they chip away, chip away at our vitality, our clarity, our sense of self. And so with Boundless, we can reframe, we can reclaim, right? We can find greater value in really who God says we are, and not who we are wanting people to perceive us to be, or who they think that we are, right? So I want to lean into the value of Boundless. It teaches all of those who are connected to identify where their energy is leaking. And we do this through a number of different exercises. But then also, how do we combat against that, right? How do we manage our energy more? How do we even put it on our radar that we need to manage our energy the same way that we try to manage our time? You know, we've gotten over the hump of stop saying yes to all things, although some of us still may be challenged. But now it's time for us to really rethink, how do we create that same type of movement around being okay with saying no and not saying yes to everything, because it's okay for us to protect ourselves, while also thinking about how do we protect our energy. Every time you override your truth to maintain peace, that is an energy leak. Every time. Every time you rehearse how to respond to a microaggression, right, that you wish never happened, that's a leak. And I'm not saying there's not places and spaces and times where we need to call those things in, right? That's important. But if we're doing it every time, are you really allowing yourself to manage your energy in a way that's best serving you? But again, here's the hope behind all of this. When we become embodied, emotionally regulated, and rooted in our faith, we can begin to reclaim that energy. I want us to get that energy back. I want us to move from leaks to liberation. You don't have to leak power to be seen as professional or qualifying. So we're going to stop leaking. Okay, somebody put into the chat, stop leaking. Now, I want to talk just briefly about somatic boundary reset, because I think this is also a great practice. I know that I have learned a lot about it while I've been on this journey of emotional regulation. And it's a way to kind of reset us, especially when we feel like our energy has been compromised, by allowing ourselves just to, expose ourselves and to allow some of our brain cells just to connect with things that don't serve us, right? And so I want to bring this back to our song, our theme song of the hour, right? Protecting our peace is a form of worship. I want y'all to realize that protecting our peace is a form of worship, right? And when we say no to things that drain us, and yes to what God is calling us to, that isn't selfish, it is sacred, right? And so we have to allow ourselves that agency to operate with that mindset. So here's what I want us to do. This is going to be just a really short exercise, because I want you to be able to have some tools that you can leverage when you find yourself, again, your nervous system getting activated and you need a reset because maybe your energy has been compromised. I want to give you some tools for that. So this is what this looks like. This is an excellent example of somatic boundary reset. So this is very powerful. And this can be done discreetly. It could be done in real time or as kind of a restorative ritual that you may want to exercise later when you're maybe up by yourself. But here's what it looks like. I want to guide you through this. And so just imagine feet on the floor, shoulders are soft, and you're inhaling and you're exhaling. And literally when you exhale, I want you to hear that sigh. I want you to hear that breath leaving your body, right? And then that in and of itself is going to start to regulate what's happening within your nervous system. It's going to start to calm you down. It's going to start to put you in more of a state where you feel more grounded and more centered. And then I want you just to take your palms and just, slowly sweep your hands around your space. I don't know if you can see my hands, but I'm doing this around my space, across my body, right? I'm just sweeping my hands. I'm sweeping my hands. And I want you to say to yourself, and this could be just silently to yourself if you're like in a meeting and somebody has upset you, whatever the situation is, say to yourself, I choose what enters my space. I choose what enters my space. God says I am safe. I am safe in his arms right now. And I choose what enters my space. right? And what you're doing is you're literally calling that energy kind of back to you in some ways, right? And it helps you to kind of gather yourself. And you may even want to say something like, I release what isn't mine to be concerned about in this moment. That doesn't concern me. That's not my burden to carry right now. We know when it's our burden to carry. God gives us clarity around that if we're connected to the source, right? He gives us clarity about that. But I release what isn't mine and I reclaim what is. And that's peace, that's joy, that's wholeness, right? That's clarity, that's focus. Simple, but it can be incredibly empowering. And then another one that's really simple and easy. Again, these are tools. So if y'all walking away thinking, okay, I have a package of stuff, I want y'all to catch that a lot of the tools I'm giving you are the tools of strategies that you can put into your toolbox. So y'all want y'all to catch the wave right now, okay? Let's not get to the end and you say, well, she didn't give us anything. Yes, I'm giving you some stuff, okay? If you believe I'm giving you some stuff and you're getting value from it, I want you to let me know that. Put something into the chat, give me a thumbs up. I need to know that you're with me. But another one that's really easy is just kind of anchoring yourself, right? You can be seated, you can be standing, but you can just simply put your hand on your heart. I'm doing it now. Now, hopefully, maybe some of you are doing it with me too. And maybe also put your other hand on your belly and just speak into yourself. We know that affirmations are so critically important. I am whole. I am whole. I am enough. I am a daughter of God. I am protected. I am safe. Right? Just start naming all of those things and watch your nervous system start to reaffirm all of the brilliance and the beauty that you have been made into, right? And that's why I say that protecting our peace by having these strategies is a form of worship because it is allowing us to lean into that agency of leadership that God has placed within us, right? We can't lead others if we can't lead and manage ourselves. So this is a way when we're regulating ourselves, this is a way to be able to help position us to best lead and influence others, right? You're whole, you're protected, you're enough. You're whole, you're protected, you're enough. And you may be thinking, well, when would I use this? So let me give you some examples. I've done it sometimes when I've been in meetings, or maybe before like a big presentation, or maybe when I knew that there was going to be a little bit of dissension around some difficult conversations. You are enough. You can have this conversation. You are skilled for it. You're qualified for it, right? You can handle this, and that changes the game. It changes the game, especially when you continue to practice it. Now you have to believe it too. Let me say that you have to believe it, right? This is not trying to trick ourselves. It's really leaning into the belief of who God says we are, and then speaking that and letting that really affirm us. When you're feeling like your energy is being leaked or you're feeling really overwhelmed, these are some good exercises to do. And they're just so simple, right? And when you think about having your hand on your heart and your hand on your belly, you can feel your breath, right? When you're touching your belly. And then you can feel your heart beating. I don't know about y'all, but when my hands are in those two places, automatically I go to a place of just gratitude. God, thank you for my breath. Thank you for life. Thank you for health. Thank you for strength. God, thank you for wisdom and clarity, God. Thank you for voice of authority, God. All those things. And it is hard to operate with the mindset of a gap when we are in the gains. And for those of you who are familiar with the Gain of the Gap book, you know what I'm talking about there. Maybe after you felt like you've had to deny yourself of who you are, maybe you've just went through a period of code switching or masking and covering who you really are. Become one with who you are. Place that hand on that chest and feel that heartbeat. Place your hand on your belly and you feel your breath. Yes. Call back into yourself all that you are, all that God says you are. And then even this could be just like a daily ritual reset at the start of the day, at the end of the day. Game changer. I know you're probably thinking, really? That really works? Try it. Try it. And then sis, reach out to me. Let me know how it worked out for you. Okay. So why do we stay stuck? We stay stuck because we're overloaded, not because we're unmotivated, because we're overloaded, right? We're overloaded. Again, this goes back to the radical self-care. How do we protect our energy and protect our peace? We also stay stuck because of the internalized scripts. Whose truth are we believing about ourselves? Right? I've gotten to a point to where I used to struggle, and I still do sometimes with like constructive feedback. It's an uncomfortable place for me, and I'm being vulnerable and real with you all. It's an uncomfortable place for me. But what I'm learning about emotional regulation is just to receive the information, take what's useful, what's not. Don't let it cause me to be stuck. Because I could ruminate on that all day long, all week long, and then my whole attitude and mood is just messed up. And what I'm learning is that with emotional regulation, if somebody tells me something, even if it's hard, I can say, thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Now, if I have not been practicing all these things or really leaning into my source, my power source, my reaction is not going to be thank you for telling me that. It's going to be something completely opposite. But listen, these are tools that I have access to. Pick it back up, right? Get back connected to that source so that I can operate grounded and in a way that serves me, serves Christ well, and just allows me to be able to show up more effectively. So, yes, whose truth do we believe? And then isolation. You've heard me say this several times. I will continue to amplify it. We need to connect with sisterhood. Sisterhood who gets it, a safe, affirming space of solidarity. We are not meant to be wandering nomads, unconnected, right? That is, the times are too crucial right now for us to be unconnected. Okay. Now, okay, I'm going to give you a gift now, and you are very welcome. And this gift is a self-regulation starter guide. And so I am going to get mine in front of me too, so I can kind of reference it. But my team is going to place it into the chat, and I want you to make sure that you download it before we exit out so that you'll have this. And don't worry, if you happen to, for whatever reason, maybe you download it and you go tomorrow to try to reference it and it's not there, don't worry. You're going to get an email and it's going to actually have this as a file that you can attach, that you can pull down. But this is a self-regulation starter guide. And I'm going to give you all a moment to kind of get it in front of you. And this is really after today, right? We're not going to spend time in our limited window that we have remaining to actually go through the specifics of it, but I am going to tell you what's in it and give you a little bit about how to use it. But I want you to see this as a tool in your toolbox, okay? This is your gift. I want to do a check-in quickly too. Let me just pause for a second. I want to do a check-in. What comments, questions, curiosities, affirmations are coming up for you all right now? I want to hear from maybe I don't know, 3 or 4 people before we move ahead. Just unmute yourself and share. 3 or 4 people. Do we have some brave folks here?
Nika, I'm here.
Hi, Erica.
It's Takia.
Oh, Takia, sorry. I saw Erica Suber. I thought that you should maybe put something on the screen. Okay, somebody wrote on my screen. That's totally fine. We're going to keep going. Okay, Takia, what's on your mind?
What's really showing up for me today is something that my mom used to say growing up when I was not behaving. And she would say, you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. And
Yes.
one thing it made me think about is something that you said is that, we can't lead others if we can't lead ourselves. And so I think sometimes being the only, in the leadership position, the only person that looks like me, we often have to think about, is this the right time? Is this the right moment to move or to say something about a microaggression or, something that is coming at us that we know isn't us, but is being placed on us. And I think we need to take a moment in those moments to just check ourselves. As we've been saying throughout the entire call, really checking, how am I feeling? Why am I feeling? And being able to get grounded so that we can stand firm in who we are and push forward and let go of some of these things that people place on us.
Oh, that's so good, Takia. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. I think we all know the lyrics to that song. Yes. And that goes back to what I said, that one of the things that my coach always says to me is go in to go out. Go in to go out. Before you go out, you go in first, right? And that's just a great practice in general. Take a moment to just reflect and pause, right? Think about what's happening here. So check yourself before you wreck yourself. I like it. I want to hear from maybe 2 or 3 more people. What's coming up for you? What's resonating? What are some curiosities or some things that you're percolating on?
Nika,
Yes.
this is Joyelle.
Hi, Joelle. How are you?
Hi. I just wanted to say thanks for that somatic reset. That was really helpful. When you're feeling dysregulated, you're outside of your body, you're really not, the head and the heart aren't really connected. So I loved those 2 exercises to just clear things out and get connected to the body, because we do a lot of that, or at least I do. And so that was really, really helpful. So really powerful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, no, thank you for being here, Joelle. And so my question for you is, well, why didn't you tell me, sis? Because I'm just now coming into realization of this and it's changing my life. But yes, simple things, simple things, but
Yes.
they really do make a big difference. So thank you for amplifying that. Okay, who else would like to take a moment to just kind of share during this window? Thoughts, questions, reflections? What are you interested in contributing to the sisterhood this evening?
You are reaffirming, Dr. White, a lot of the healing work that I started doing on myself due to trauma in the workplace, being one of the only ones. And now that I am doing that for myself, I think at a moderate level, I have unapologetically said that I am there to support, to guide, and love on everyone. But I have been focusing on women of color. Seriously, whether it's coffee or a card or a candle dropped off inner office mail, and the breathing techniques and bringing in who I can bring in to help those of us in the organization that want that healing, because everybody does not. And I realize that the trauma is not going to stop, but I can be healed at all
Yes.
aspects. So just thank you so much for this. And to anyone who's listening, healing and faith go hand in hand. So I am just, whew, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's all I can say. Just blessings to you, your staff, your team, uh, and just thank you so much.
No, thank you, sis. Thank you so much for that feedback and those words. I'm going to tell you again, like I said at the beginning, I need this as much as probably some of you showing up to this conversation need this. I can't talk at this level all the time when I am doing this work within organizations. If you know, you know. But this is a space where I needed you all to realize that no matter what you see on the outside, all those things probably that you're navigating are similar experiences. And so we need to be much more vulnerable and transparent about sharing that as we are trying to form those deepened relations and connections to one another as we're supporting the full turf. When one of us wins, all of us win. So we need to share what we know, what we've navigated, the lessons learned, all the things. Okay, maybe one more person, then I'm going to tell you what's in your self-reflection starter guide.
Hi, Dr.
I
Nika.
think
This is Donna Hicks Mitchell.
Hi, Donna.
And hi, what I resonated most with was the somatic piece and the exercise that you brought us through. One of the things that happened to me is that I always played small in order to make more people feel comfortable with my excellence, with my brilliance. I just acquiesced to the pressure. And when I finally left corporate, the somatic trauma manifested itself in my spine and in my hip flexors, where my spine actually started to curve at a 40-degree angle. And what a lot of us don't understand is we don't let that trauma work through our body and we don't take those exercises like you taught us on today seriously, they can manifest in different ways, which compromises our health. So I'm really glad that you took us through that exercise. It means so much. And thank you so much for everything that you're sharing on today.
No, thank you. Thank you kindly. So, okay, thank you, Lord. I was going to take that part out. So let me just tell y'all, this is how God works. I was going to take that part. I said, they're not going to, they're going to think I'm silly. So thank you, sis. Thank you both for commenting on that portion being pretty impactful for you. And it's just so simple, but it worked for me and I wanted to share it with you all. So someone else was starting to chime in. And so I don't want to deny that individual of an opportunity to share. So whoever that was, if you're willing to pop in, I would love to give you the floor.
It was me, Deborah Farrell. And
Hi, how
I
are
really,
you?
hi, I'm doing great. Thank you. Um, I really liked when you said, be with your emotions. Sometimes we feel that we can't be emotional because we won't be strong. And it's not that you can't be, it's exactly what you said. Identify what they are, because once you do that, then you have control over what you can do. And so then you can like stand up strong and address those microaggressions. You can stand up strong and say, no, that's not the way it is. And this is why. So I think sometimes we forget that we have emotions, and the Bible does tell you that you can be angry, you can be all of
Yes.
this, but just don't sit in it. And that when I realized that piece, it changed my whole world. So
Yeah, no, Deborah, it's good to see you. Thank you so much for joining and for sharing your feedback. And yeah, and I want us to realize this too, is that sometimes when we're pausing and we're allowing the emotions to come, if we really are being true to ourselves and really present in the moment, we may realize that what we're feeling, that there's some validity to it. Maybe there's something that we need to work on, that we need to change. So I don't want to negate the fact that there could be some growth and learning in it. And it's not just, oh, that's not me, that's not my issue, right? And I think that's part of this process as well. And so thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. I do appreciate it. Okay, so let's look at let's look at your self-regulation starter guide. This is one of your gifts that I am providing for you this evening. This has been created specifically for this masterclass for you all tonight. And by the way, let me share that I do a number of these communities of practice, right, within organizations, and even like these women of color cohorts within organizations. What is different about what I'm offering to you all is that this is one to many, which means this is like community, people from different walks of life, different organizations coming together to form this boundless kind of cohort or community of practice. And I wanted to share that because, and I'll get to this a little bit later, but there's a lot of data that has gone into building what I believe is a solid approach to how in which we go about building this sisterhood and doing it in a way where we feel there's a great level of reciprocity in sharing and contributing and seeing our sisters win. And so this is not coming from a place of starting at ground zero. There's a lot of work that's been built into it. But what is new for me is now doing this, taking it to the broader community and saying, okay, come, whoever thinks that this is going to be for you, let's form this community together. And let's see how we can make magic. But in your self-reflection starter guide, you'll see that on page 2, I'm going to give you just a little bit about why this guide matters and help you to understand how to use it. It talks again about some of the things that we shared in this conversation, regulating your emotions, the importance of that. When you look at the next page, section 1, this gives you signs of dysregulation, right? Things to notice within your nervous system, within your body, those common signs that allows you to then say, okay, let me pause here. This is a sign. Sometimes we don't even know what to look for. So I don't want you to be stuck by not being able to regulate because you don't know what to look for. You have some of those things there. And what I want you to realize is that as you think about some of those signs, sometimes we can interpret it as something's wrong with me, or this is a personal failure, right? I don't want you to think that way. I want you to see it as you have been conditioned to survive by suppressing it or by operating in that capacity. Again, none of this is any fault of our own. Section 2, quick grounding techniques. If you like the somatic exercises that I gave you today, those are a couple additional ones that I gave you that I want you to also have in your toolbox that you can use. And then if you go to section 3, this is all about embodiment practices for everyday life. The goal here was let's make this practical. I don't believe in just coming and transferring knowledge that's very high and aspirational. I want you to be able to have practical things that you can do and apply immediately. And so I give you some of those in the embodiment section. And then boundary affirmations for women of color. Your nervous system heals where your boundaries are honored. Your nervous system heals where your boundaries are honored. And so I give you some affirmations, and I hope that you will add to those affirmations and then just start taking note of them in a journal. And that gets us to section 5, which is journaling. I used to not be a journaler, but now I am. I try to journal every single morning. It's actually part of my devotion time. And I write down what I'm feeling. I write down what I'm grateful for. I write down what my concerns are, all the things. And it's just a way for me to, again, be one with my emotions, to acknowledge it, to kind of force the conversation, because it's going to come up throughout the day at some point. So why not go ahead and acknowledge kind of what's going on with me based upon circumstances that I'm clearly aware of, and then use that as a way to set my intention for the day. Set my intention for the day, right? Set my intention for the day. So, and then finally on the back is just a little bit of information about the Boundless Cohort program that I will tell you about momentarily once we get through this final section of tonight's masterclass. And so again, I have no idea how we got these marks on the screen. So if someone on my team knows how to get them off, I'm hoping it's not going to transfer to the next slide. Oh, yeah, and it does. That's okay. We still can see what's going on. But if someone knows how to get that off on my team, I would appreciate that. So the enemy may take some things, but can't take our victory. I want you to know, what is your way to victory? I want you to be able to visualize your journey ahead. And that journey ahead, hopefully, is that you are going to become a part of what we have referred to tonight several times as Boundless. Boundless is a women of color cohort that allows us to lean into empowerment, leadership, and well-being. I find that sometimes we may be operating at a high level on one of those three pillars, but then the other two may suffer. And I want us to be able to operate at a high level on a consistent basis across all three. And I believe that we deserve that. I think that we're worthy of it. And I think that we can get it. And so this includes monthly coaching, curated tools and strategies. It includes the sisterhood and the connectedness. This is about reclamation and not repair. We are not broken. We don't need to be fixed. I want us to be clear about that. We don't need to be fixed, right? And so I'm going to share the structure of Boundless in these next few slides so that you'll kind of understand what this is. This is your official invitation to join Boundless. And I want you to think about this question. What would it mean to no longer have to do this thing called life alone? And especially as a woman of color, what would it mean to no longer have to do this life alone? Thank you so much. Blue lines are gone. What would it mean? Right? Does it mean that you get maybe some of your peace back, some of your joy back? I mean, we've gotten so used to holding both trauma and joy that sometimes, it just feels like, okay, well, I've had a lot of joy, so now I'm waiting for the trauma to come in, right? But what would it feel like if we didn't have to at least, do that alone? If we were in safe, protected spaces with others? How would that feel? Place some of your thoughts into the chat. Let us know how that would feel to you. Hopefully it would feel enlightening, empowering. It would feel, again, like you are able to really be grounded and centered and really accomplish all that you and God has, designed you to do and accomplish in this world. So here's the thing. This is kind of a call to action now. If God's been nudging you to stop over functioning and start healing, then also maybe you've been praying for clarity and connection and courage. Boundless just may be the thing that you need. It may be the answer that you've been preparing for. So I'm hoping that you will consider letting today be your yes, but let me tell you what potentially you will be saying yes to. So what is Boundless? I already told you that it is certainly this cohort, this community of practice of women of color, specifically for women of color. And it's geared around empowerment, leadership, and well-being. It's a transformative experience. And I have designed this to empower women to step into their power, build confidence, and thrive. One of the things that I often repeat that a good friend of mine says, and that is that women sometimes we can deny our own selves of opportunities because we have power, but we don't realize that we have power. So the first thing we need to do is to realize we have power and to walk in that power, right? We're connected to the power source. So of course we have power. Okay. So you may be thinking, so what is Boundless going to do for me exactly? Is it going to allow me to not have to navigate all of the corporate code crisis that you talked about earlier, Dr. White? No, that's not the case. Boundless does not mean that we will not encounter those issues in corporate crises, but it does mean that we will have tools, we will have strategies, we will have language to navigate them, and we'll have ability and agency to lean into radical self-care that prioritizes our well-being and embodies an empowering mindset. And we will have sisters that are going through maybe similar things that are supporting us through it, right? We have to go in to go out. We have to go in to go out. So what I want you to do is be able to come into Boundless so that you and all of us collectively can go out. We only can control ourselves, right? So my question is, I hope that you're getting more ready to become Boundless because I want you to be Boundless. You may be asking yourself further, so what does this Boundless opportunity provide beyond like this high pie sky description that you just shared, Dr. White? It provides holistic well-being. I believe that part of this journey is for us to fixate ourselves, equally important, maybe even more so important, on our well-being. That includes addressing both our mental, our physical well-being. So the program is going to provide several different conduits for us to lean into radical self-care and resilience, story for another day. But by the way, I like to talk about resilience as regenerative strength instead of resilience, because regenerative strength allows us to, of course, also be in our soft era where we can be supported, right? Sometimes if we're so strong and resilient, which is part of the challenge for how people view us as women of color, particularly Black women, is that we're so strong, people don't realize sometimes that we need support, that we need help. And I don't want that for us. And so I'm kind of shifting the language a little bit and I'm calling it regenerative strength. But it allows us to equip all of those who become a part of this in ways where they can better manage the stressors that are unique to the pathways that they are experiencing, right? And even thinking about some of the well-being challenges that can come from, being in high stress situations, like navigating bias and and burnout before burnout turns to burnout. There's a lot of signs before we get to burnout. And so for those of you who may have been a part of my prioritizing radical self-care sessions, you know that I provide tools around what I refer to as burnout, how burnout triggers, knowing what our burnout triggers are, what causes burnout. And we look at it holistically across all areas of our life, all types of relationships. And then I also give you the tools for, well, what do you do for those burnout triggers? You have burnout safeguards. What does that look like? You safeguard against those things. I'm all about being intentional and being practical in how in which we take care of ourselves. Next is building leadership capacity. So what I have come to understand is that there are many women that are part of this community and that I encounter every single day who are at the top echelon of their organizations in terms of leadership roles. They're highly qualified. We know this about women of color, particularly Black women. We are highly qualified, right? But what I also know is that sometimes they still struggle to really find their full place of safety and comfort within kind of yielding all that they have available to that leadership role, because they try to shrink and they try to conform. And so I think there's something also to be said for those of you who could be showing up today that are in C-suite level roles. Maybe you're running your own organizations that are 6-7-figure companies, but you still need, right, some additional support around how do I best kind of shape my leadership story, my leadership legacy, and do it in a way that's true to who I am. This is for you. Creating a strong, affirming community. Again, we're not designed to be on our own. We're designed to be a network of solidarity, enabling each of us with like-mindedness to gain support, to celebrate shared successes in a safe, uplifting environment. And we want to make sure that everyone has that level of support and connectivity. And then I also think about empowering self-advocacy and purpose-driven leadership. I do a lot of work about self-advocacy, knowing yourself, knowing your worth. And what does that look like when you're actually walking into that truth and that confidence, right? What does it look like in practice? And so that is something that I believe is definitely going to find its way into the Boundless experience. And then let's not ignore what's happening right now on the political front with all of the complexities that are taking place. I mean, we have bombs going off. I mean, we have DEI being done away with. Many of you have come to rely on the ERGs, BRGs, and maybe even very targeted women of color initiatives and programs in your organization that may be no longer, right? And so you're feeling the weight of the isolation. You're feeling that maybe you aren't seen, you aren't heard. And I don't want that for you. I want you to be able to align with a space and a place and resources and tools that allows you to rise above what's happening by controlling what we can control. We can't control the world. We can't control whether or not those bombs are going to be hit, or released. We can't control that. But what we can control is how are we navigating it by preparing ourselves with all the things that we need to navigate it well. Another short story. Someone said to me recently, actually, I sing on the praise team, and we had someone come in to do a workshop with the praise team. And one of the things that this particular person says, who works with a lot of, ministries, praise teams, he said that you prepare for what you honor. You prepare for what you honor. And that was in the context of, if we are coming to be God's vessels, to lead the congregation in worship, to usher in his presence and get people fixated on his glory, his majesty, all the things, we need to prepare for that small role. You prepare for that, right? You prepare for what you honor. So when I think about the fact that so many of us are not preparing ourselves to be readied for our next, because we don't have the same high level of honoring of ourselves the way maybe that we used to, because of, again, systemic issues, what people have told us we are or what we're not, right? I don't want that for us. We need to honor ourselves because God honors us. He made us in his image. And so we need to be honoring ourselves, which means that it is part of our duty as individuals who are in his image to operate with the sense of honoring ourselves, our vessel, right? Our well-being. That's important. Okay. So we're moving here, y'all. I want to try to get y'all out of here on time. So what is the promise for the participants to achieve? I want to make sure that you can gain the skills, resilience, and confidence to act with purpose, create meaningful impact. It's not just about ourselves, but it's also about what's the legacy that we're leaving, how we're bringing others along, and to nurture your well-being. Do connect, support, and uplift fellow women of color, breaking through barriers together. That's important to foster vibrant, empowering community. That's critical. And then become a boundless leader equipped to inspire, to navigate growth with confidence, and champion a life of affirmation, solidarity, and limitless potential. Limitless potential. Again, I hope you're catching on. Boundless, limitless potential. Some of you could be thinking, well, I think it's good to have some kind of boundaries. Yes, it's not what we're talking about. We're talking about limitless potential and us having the skills to be able to get us to that place where we can realize that limitless potential. Not at the hands of somebody else, So why boundless? This is designed specifically for you, and it will help you break through barriers, build strong, connected network of sisterhood, prioritize your well-being, lead with confidence, and create lasting impact. And we need that. We need more models of what this looks like so that we can bring our children's children, our younger children, our cousins, nieces, nephews, we can bring all of them along, right? So who is this for? You may be thinking, what type of person or woman is this for? It is for entrepreneurs and founders, business leaders. It's also for, people that are workplace professionals. And maybe you're in an environment that doesn't prioritize your needs. They don't see you. They don't understand you, right? They're not like you. They're not like us. Maybe you're in a job transition. Maybe you're part of that 306,000, right? And bless you, sis, if you are, we're praying for you. But you're looking to invest in yourself while you're waiting on your next, right? Maybe you're looking for meaningful ways to use professional development budget that has been allocated to you from your organization, or it can be allocated to you from your organization. You just have to ask for it. Give yourself that agency of at least asking and exploring. And maybe you are looking for mentorship, right? Maybe a brain trust group, maybe a mastermind type of sisterhood where you can do that in safe community. And perhaps you align with all of these bullets as the boundless woman. And the boundless community. So beyond this boundless opportunity, there's also this subscription-based opportunity where space where the women can be seen, heard, and valued. And I want to talk a bit about it for a quick second. And you will see that this is kind of just rolling through the platform where we have built out this entire community. Shout out to my team who has, again, worked tirelessly to pull this together over the past 2 weeks. And when I tell you that, no, less than 2 weeks, but this is ready for you, waiting for you to sign up. We have dates, we have different content areas. I have opportunities for you to hear what others have been saying about similar programs that have been offered and executed successfully and impactfully in organizations. Remember, I told you I'm not new to this, but I am new to the one-to-many model where I'm allowing individuals to form a cohort that's not all a part of the same organization. Here's some testimonials. I won't spend time there, but you will get this presentation deck as a follow-up for your reference. Here are the dates. We are kicking off on July the 22nd, and there are several sessions where we are going to be dealing with many different topics. I will go to this next poll. But what I want you to think about is which of these leadership development areas resonates most with you in your current situation. Let's see, let me move this so I can read the full thing. In your current personal or professional goals. And then we have some options on the floor. And one of the things that I like to do is that when a cohort is formed, the first thing we do is an initial assessment. I want to understand what are some of the interests, the pain points, the needs from a content perspective, so that we can really curate a tailored experience that's going to meet the needs of all members of that cohort. And so I ask some questions that allows me to be able to facilitate the instructional design of these sessions. And they are really rich. They never leave you without tools and strategies and workbooks across all of the areas of content that we're sharing. We're also learning with and from each other. It is a community of practice. So one of the value sets of a community of practice is being able to learn with and from each other. Okay, so we're moving on this. Let's see where we're landing. Building confidence to navigate growth and break barriers, developing skills to create impactful change in my career or community. We can't forget about our communities. Strengthening self-advocacy and purpose-driven leadership, mastering difficult conversations and fostering collaboration. Okay, so for those who have placed your poll response, it looks like developing skills to create impactful change in my career and community is kind of leading. But again, you all across the board. And these are all topics, by the way, that certainly find their way into this community of practice. Okay, so we're forging ahead. We're moving on because I want to make sure I can get you out of here. So I'm going to close that out. So I put this up here just so that you can see that a lot of work has gone into, years of experience and working with different groups to curate content and instructional design of learning experiences. And again, I don't like the word training. I usually say learning experiences. Training sounds like a destination. This is an experience.
Comma.
And so
Nonprofits.
if we could, can we make sure that we're on, can we double check to make sure we're muted? Thank you. And so I just wanted to give you a snapshot of some of the topics that have become really popular whenever I do facilitate the assessment, and I kind of see where there's common ground around interest in upskilling and leadership and professional development. A lot of times people want to understand, how do I manage expectation around boundaries, and how do I properly empower, colleagues, teammates, and how do I delegate, right? Cultivating a personal professional brand as a strategic growth opportunity. Self-advocacy, knowing ourselves, knowing our worth, overcoming burnout and radical self-care. That's come up a lot today. I like this last one on this page, navigating change with purpose and power. There's a whole section that I do on a RAISE methodology, and each of those letters stand for something, and it's all about raising to rise. Future-proof leaders is something that is critical right now that organizations are asking for. Breaking the glass ceiling. The glass ceiling and the concrete ceiling. We talk about the concrete ceiling too, because sometimes as women of color, we can't even see that there's a possibility up there. And that's where the concrete ceiling comes from. So how do we build strategic support systems? How do we reclaim our energy? Imposter syndrome, I don't believe in it. It's a misdiagnosis. Finding your voice and influence, mastering those difficult and hard conversations. And you see, the list is really deep and rich. These are all content areas that we have spent a good bit of time developing learning experiences around. So you all are being presented with the call to action and the opportunity tonight to become a part of the founding cohort of Boundless that is being offered as a community base that is strictly for women of color. What does that mean for you as a founding member and cohort member? It means that the pricing that's being offered tonight is special pricing, is 50 to 75% off the standard price that is typically offered for something of this nature. And so when I actually do this again in the future, then the pricing is going to be, again, much higher. And so I want you to know that there's benefits in being a part of the founding group. Also, you get a free 1-year subscription to the Boundless community. That's that portal that I was showing you before. Not only is that part of the initial experience where you're going to be gaining, again, a lot of that sisterhood, that camaraderie, that community, a lot of tools and resources. There are going to be some other assets that are going to be in there. And you have a 1-year subscription to this community at no cost, just for being a part of the founding cohort. That includes inclusive invites to group coaching sessions, announcements of special offers before they go out to the public. We want to be able to do Boundless conferences, Boundless retreats. I think you kind of see the ultimate vision there. Sisterhood, community, and connectedness. You can't beat that. You can't beat that. We're not designed to be isolated. Free Voxer one-to-one support for those of you familiar with the Voxer app and platform, great tool. And then also, we want to make sure that we're building and cultivating relationships in this sisterhood. And so it's not just all about coming and trying to fill ourselves up with knowledge and skill sets, but we also want to make sure that we can just have a good time together. We can just let down our hair and we can just talk about, whatever it is that is presenting kind of a challenge or opportunity for us within that moment. So these social circles and networking is also built into this entire Boundless experience. Now, told you that the pricing for the founding members is 50 to 75% off. We have an early bird enrollment price that's happening right now for the founder cohort. It is $2,500. $100. What I want you to know is that the early bird pricing ends on June the 29th at midnight. Thereafter, the price is going up to $3,000 for any other individuals that sign up for the founding cohort, if space allows. I want to stress that if space allows, I guarantee you this is going to sell out. I don't want this to be a massive group of individuals. We need to keep it manageable. So we do have a certain threshold that we're looking to for this initial cohort. And you may be asking yourself, well, why is the price being so discounted? Because it is the first. I think there's value into individuals who are coming in at the entry point. I'm also going to be seeking your feedback. I want to understand, what is your experience? What would make this better? What are some added value opportunities? So that when we roll this out the second time, where the price is going to increase 50 to 75%, that we have worked out whatever type of issues that may be present as we are working through this. This is a tried and true process. But what I want you to know is that I value someone being first, right? I value someone investing in the first opportunity and that entry point. And so I am allowing that to be extended to the discounts that's being provided as a founding cohort member, along with the other benefits of a 1-year subscription to this entire Boundless community. My team is going to drop some links into the chat because I want you to be able to have access to the site where you can sign up and learn more. You can also scan this QR code. The website is boundless.nikawhite.com. It is your way to victory. I truly believe that for you. And as I said in the beginning, this is personal for me. And so I want as many of you as possible to be on this journey with this collective so that we can grow together, so that we can realize our full potential individually and collective, and so that we can show up fully as the daughters that God has designed us to be for his glory, for the building of his kingdom, and also for the impact and the legacy that we want to leave. And so I hope that you will scan that QR code to learn more. And there is a special offering tonight as well, just for showing up. I want you all to realize that if you found value in what you heard today and you want to be a Boundless ambassador, then we want you to be a Boundless ambassador. And what that looks like is that just by sharing the story and directing maybe other women of color to the boundless.nikawhite.com site and signing up, that once they are enrolled and they have identified and credited you in the sign-up process in the intake form as the referring party, then you will easy earn $100 for every woman of color who enrolls that has credited you for putting this on their radar. And so I hope that I have shared some things today that allows you to feel like, I want to learn more. But if I haven't, here's what I want to offer up. I'm going to do a bonus Q&A office hour tomorrow evening, 7 p.m., same time. We're going to drop, the link into the chat. You see the QR code. You can sign up and register. And I'm doing this because maybe some of you joined late. Maybe some of you are going to have to step off in like 2 seconds before we open it up for any, immediate questions that are just burning that you have for this evening. Maybe you want to revisit something that I shared tonight. Maybe you just need more time. And if that's you, I want to invite you back tomorrow evening. We have the Zoom link that you can access through the QR code just by scanning it and show up. And there's no agenda. I don't have any notes for tomorrow. It's strictly just going to be, okay, Q&A. Ask me your questions. And let me see if I can provide clarity for you. Let me see if I can really just help satisfy whatever type of additional intel that you need as you're making a really informed decision. And perhaps this is your way of just going deeper into the opportunity to learn more. Maybe this is not the season, but maybe the next time we offer this, it will be your season and you want to be well prepared. Whatever your situation is, I want to meet you here if it will be of value to you to ask some additional questions tomorrow. That's your QR code. We'll also place again the URL into the chat. And there's one more thing that I want to share with you. If you believe that what you've heard tonight about Boundless, whether it's for you or not, if you believe that there is value to it and you are willing to share this on your social media channels for a chance to win a $100 gift card, I want to reward you with that gift card. All you are needing to do is just kind of grabbing my reference tool. I strictly just want you to go to social media and I want you to share your Boundless experience tonight. And I want you to direct people to the link for them to consider signing up and learning more about the program. And then if you do, I'm going to be tracking it by the hashtag NWC Boundless, hashtag NWC Boundless. And all of those individuals who have shared names will go into hat. I'm saying hat with air quotes because there's an online randomizer tool that we can use to help put all the names in of those who completed the challenge. And we want to reward you accordingly. And so I hope that's some additional incentive for you, if nothing else, just to share with others what you learned tonight about the boundless concept and to hopefully get them to become interested in learning more and exploring it for themselves. Okay. Here's my closing affirmation for you. May you walk in power, not because of what you do, but because of who you belong to. May your breath be steady, your voice be bold, and your hands be lifted in praise and purpose and in peace. As you exit out of tonight's Zoom session, I want you to walk away feeling empowered. I want you to walk away feeling like you have spent time that has invested in yourself. I think that's important. So regardless of where you land with your decision about Boundless, I want there to be something that stirs inside of you that allows you to fully walk into the full potential that you have and to seek out the ways in which the different tools that I have provided this evening may be of value to you. We thank you for your time. I thank you for your interest and your showing up. I thank you for showing up for yourselves and for your sisters. And if you have to hop off, we are exactly at 9:02 according to my clock. I can totally understand, but I do want to hang out for at least a good, few minutes in case you have some questions that I can answer for you. I'll be here for at least a good, 10 minutes or so. And so I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen. And we'll actually give it just a few seconds for folks to kind of exit out for those who want to leave. And then I'll just open it up and invite you to unmute yourself and share your questions. So. Okay, so if you have questions, let me know. Just unmute yourself and I'm happy to answer them as I can. And then again, this does not preclude us from doing tomorrow night. I still will be here tomorrow night to help address questions as well, but I do want to give you a chance now. Thank you, Pam. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions? No questions? Okay, well, 33 of you are still on. So either you're waiting for someone to ask your question or perhaps you just don't want to be first. Let me check the chat. Maybe there's some questions in the chat. Hi, Akuna. I'm so glad you were able to make it. Oh, my sister Val. Hi, Val. Hi, Dana. See a lot of my AKA sisters. I appreciate y'all. Katrina. Hi, welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, I don't get to do shout outs as often as I like just because I'm so focused on really trying to deliver the content, but I love this. Make sure y'all grab your the Boundless kit. I'm seeing it in there. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Lots of messages of appreciation, which I am grateful for. I'm glad that this was resonating for so many of you. Members of my church family are here. I love y'all. I really do. I told y'all I needed this the same way maybe many of you needed it. So I'm walking away full. Oh, hi, Kia. Thanks for coming. I appreciate you. Erica, hi. We are our sister's keeper, indeed. Yes. Y'all are giving me life in this chat. Tangela Davis, thanks for showing up. I appreciate you. My beau sister, Dr. Vanessa. How are you, dear? Amy Potter. Hi, hi, hi. This looks like a little bit of a reunion. Okay, so everyone's being quiet. I can keep scrolling through the chat and kind of amusing myself with all of the catching up on all of the engagement there. But you're on for a reason. So if you have a question, now is the time. I'll give it another few moments. But if no one speaks up, I will again be here tomorrow. Make sure that you sign up for that. That's how you'll get the link for it. Maybe you need to kind of percolate and process a lot of what you've heard, which I can appreciate that too.
Dr. White, there are questions in the chat.
Okay, so the chat's like really, really long for me. So there's a lot to go through. So can you maybe help me to identify what they are? And I'll try my best.
Okay. Tracy asked, do you have a payment plan?
Yes, and I'm so glad I should mention that because yes, you can pay it all up front. So when you go to the website, you can see that you can pay the full 25 as a one-time payment up front, or you can split it out over 4 months. And so I think when you split it out over 4 months, it's like, if I'm doing the math correctly, 625 or 670, I don't know, 6 something. Yeah, thank you. Thank
And
you, Hannah. What other
then
questions are you seeing?
Valerie asked, for someone who's about to retire, what can you share for our next stage of life?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I will say that when I think about community, I think about not just the takes, but I also think about the gives. And so I would love for people that are in the retirement phase and maybe they have transitioned to a different part of like their career life, if they can be a part of this community to also pour into some of those who are still in the process. And so I would love to just kind of have a conversation offline about what that could look like, because I do think there's value in that as well. And here's the thing, just because we retired does not mean that we stop being leaders in our communities and in organizations that we are affiliated with, right? And so I still think that there's great value into how we show up and how we navigate whatever spaces we may find ourselves in. And so the one thing that I want you all to know is that I started with embodiment and emotional regulation because I think it's so important. Those are going to be topics that are going to be threaded seamlessly throughout all of the sessions. I even have a separate emotional regulation, the emotional regulated leader community of practice. But for this, because I feel like it's so important for women of color, I have threaded those concepts throughout all of the content areas. So we're going to be getting it along the way. And that has nothing to do with whether you're working, retired, or whatever. It's just you're human, right? You have warm blood running through your body. You're going to need it. You're going to need those tools. But happy to chat more offline as well, Val. More questions, Anna?
I believe that is it.
Okay. All righty. Well, for the 16 of you that's still hanging on, I realize probably maybe 6 of those, including myself or folks that are on my team, but I want to wish you all a safe good night. I hope that you will percolate on all this information. Again, you'll have another opportunity tomorrow to ask some questions. And so make sure you go and check out all the resources, read up on it, and that way you can formulate whatever questions are still unanswered for you that I could be of help to tomorrow evening. So thanks again to my team. You know, we have worked so hard, and I just want them to know how much they are appreciated. I don't take that lightly, all that we've done.
Oh, we have
in 2 weeks,
one more
pull this
question.
off. Okay.
This is from Ruth from the Dominican Republic. Hi, Ruth. She asks, how do you feel after this beautiful masterclass? It was incredible. A big hug from the Dominican Republic. Blessings.
Oh, that's so great. Thank you. Thanks for showing up. We have the DR in the house. Yes. The DR is special to my family and my church family. We do mission work there every year. And so glad you showed up tonight. And the good thing about the DR is that the time zone is relatively the same, except for like one small period of the year where there's maybe an hour off. But so yes, we welcome you to sign up if you desire. We'd love to have you. All righty. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much again. Take care.